Well, thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Sue McVeigh and I'm the Business Development Manager at Food for Life Scotland. Welcome to this webinar on healthy and sustainable food in Glasgow's universities and colleges. This session is brought to you by the Glasgow Food Policy Partnership and supported by the Glasgow Centre for Population Health Communications team. So Glasgow is home to several universities and colleges, serving food to numerous students, staff and visitors every day. The higher education setting can play a huge role in serving healthy, sustainable meals at the same time trialling new ideas and meeting the needs of an often young, educated clientele. During this webinar, you're going to hear from the University of Glasgow, Glasgow Caledonian University and the City of Glasgow College. The universities and colleges presenting hold the Soil Association's Food for Life Served Here certification at either bronze or silver for their catering operations. There is also other universities and colleges in Glasgow doing some great work in the area of sustainability, but today we're going to be focusing on those that are working with us on the Food for Life Served Here award programme. The presentations are going to be followed by a panel Q&A session, so if you have any questions for our speakers, please do use the Q&A function and use this for questions only rather than the general comments. We're going to do our best to get all your questions answered, but we might not be able to answer all of them, so then we'll come back to you. Our events team will be using the chat function to post links relevant to the presentations. So I'm going to start off by asking Paolo from Glasgow University to join us. Paolo Cruz is Head of Operational Sustainability at Glasgow Caledonian. He has a BSc in Environmental Sciences and Biology and an MSc in Waste Management. He's Glasgow Caledonian's Head of Operational Sustainability and has a responsibility for helping embed sustainability into all aspects of the university's operations. He's interested in applying sustainability and circular economy, thinking to develop behaviour change interventions, improve processes, target capital investments and deliver savings. Prior to this, Paolo was involved in consultancy and business development roles, and he's a Chartered Waste Management and EAUC Fellow. So Paolo, I'll hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Hi, thanks, Sue. Hello, everyone. I am going to talk to you about our Food for Life Served Here journey. I am stepping in for our catering manager, who is the star of the show, but couldn't join us due to some personal circumstances. So I'll do my best to answer questions. I think Soil Association will help me where I might not have detail. So about GCU, we were established in 1993. We have a campus here in Glasgow, our main campus, and a small campus in London. And as many universities, we have a bunch of international partnerships. Catering, which is, I suppose, one of the elements for today, is only available at our Glasgow campus. We are fortunate that we're a city centre location. We have 13 buildings. We're a small town. We have about 20,000 people traveling in and out several times a week. We've outsourced our catering to Baxter Story, who have just started a new catering contract. We have 6 catering outlets, and in a year we'll typically serve 180,000 hot meals and over 225,000 hot drinks. So we're a big-ish operation, and the way we brought sustainability into catering was we first defined what sustainability in food meant for us. We acknowledged that there are a lot of interpretations, so we took it as food that was healthy with safe ingredients, and so local supports the local economy, recognizes cultural diversity and dietary requirements and budgets. It has ethical food safeguards and with correct treatment for suppliers, individuals and animals in or as part of supply chains, and it has low environmental impacts. So after defining what sustainable food meant for us, we had a created a policy and a monitoring framework. For us, that monitoring framework is Food for Life Served Here, and we incorporated that into our catering contract. So we basically require that the caterer delivers Food for Life Served Here. Then that gets incorporated into service delivery, which is what Alan is involved in, and I'll talk about. And ultimately, it culminates, or kind of the cycle ends with Food for Life Served Here audits, and then we'll come back and audit each year. In addition to this, there's other sustainability in our catering operations there, like circular economy principles, where we've taken away a lot of disposables. We've introduced a disposable container charge. So if you go and buy coffee in a takeaway cup, we'll charge you, I think it's 30p now, and if it's a container, a little bit more. We train the catering team on the correct segregation of wastes. Baxter Stories bring in a lot of controls around food wastage and preparation and so on. So there's also a lot of that. But the focus will be Food for Life Served Here. Just a caveat, I'm not Baxter Story, but I'm picking up Alan's presentation. So, hence the Baxter Story branding. Baxter Story's interpretation of sustainable food is very aligned with ours. They very much focused on seasonal menus, local and regional suppliers, UK meat, responsible fish, free-range eggs, fairly trade products. So they deliver a lot of our fair trade items that we sell on campus, and they aim to reduce the amount of bottled water. Their own operating procedures, I think, also very aligned with the standard or the Food for Life Served Here, and they have a number of additives that are not permitted in their own operating through their own operating procedures. So food flavorings, flavor enhancers, antioxidants, and preservatives. And they limit, I think, the amount of artificial sweeteners in homemade foods. So for Baxter Story, it all starts with the food, and at GCU, they work on a 3-week menu rotation, which brings in a lot of variety. And so it brings variety. It has benefits in terms of stock control, and keeping things fresh. So the first stage in the Food for Life is to submit the menu to check what proportion is freshly prepared. So for bronze, it needs to be 75, and then the ingredients start coming into play as you move towards silver, and where there's a requirement for 5% organic. So at GCU, Baxter Story prepare 86% of the food from scratch. And here's an example of the variety in a week as part of that 3-week menu cycle. Baxter Story work quite hard and have a lot of flexibility for local units to find local suppliers. So Alan and his team have gone out and sourced a lot of local. So a big one for us is Mosgiel Organic Dairy. They provide all milk to campus, and it's all organic. But then they've also gone out and found local suppliers. For example, Bros Supply are, I think, based in the Lothians, so just south of Edinburgh for those not from Scotland, and they provide a dairy alternative in oat milk. And both Mosgiel and Bros, their containers, they have returnable containers. So Mosgiel deliver in about 5-litre tubs, and Bros in their glass bottles, which are returned for washing and refilling. Alan also sources Scottish flour, the potatoes are Scottish, bottled water Scottish, and the snacks are Taylor's. If you're not familiar with Taylor's snacks, they used to be called Mackey's Crisps. So this flexibility in being able to bring local suppliers is very important and beneficial. So one question that Alan has to field often is, isn't organic food more expensive? And he says, yes, it is. But the cost can be offset with careful meal planning. So Baxter Stories have signed up to an initiative called Beans is How, and they are substituting a lot of meat with beans. So they've drastically cut the amount of red meat in our menu, and they use other meat, but even with the other meat, they use more beans and pulses. Alan also says that making food from scratch is cheaper than buying ready-made frozen meals. However, there's an increased labor cost. And he also, so he says that the ingredient switching is very important, and it gives you flexibility. So less meat, more beans, and that type of substitution enabled Alan to switch all our milk to organic and without a significant impact on the price for the consumers. Alan also talks about upskilling the team. So to make everything from scratch, you have to have the right skills in the team. And so Alan, through the process, he's put 7 members of his kitchen team through Baxter Stories Chef Academy. And the added benefit of this is that it created career progression opportunities for the team. For example, 3 of our porters, kitchen porters, are now chefs, and that gives them quite a lot of motivation, career satisfaction, and also buy-in to the work they're doing in the kitchen and the Food for Life Served Here certification. Alan's very big on customer engagement, or engagement, I should say. So from the team, so from the onset, he's tried to bring his whole catering team from kitchen to the folks serving on board and see the benefits of this initiative. He's done a lot of training with the Soil Association and name check Sue and Lucy for all their help. And this help that Alan refers to, he says, is fundamental in getting the whole team on board. And with time, he's kind of seen a buy-in and more engagement. Parallel to that, Baxter Story hosts a lot of taster sessions. They produce menu cards that they give out. We give them out when we have special events, for example, Fair Trade Week. So the chef will produce recipe cards that we give out to people. And this raises awareness about what we're trying to do with our catering offer. There's some challenges around purchasing. So not only are organic ingredients more expensive, but they're not necessarily always available. So Alan frequently tells that you'll go on to catering suppliers' catalogs, and although they list a lot of items, often they're not available. So it's quite hard to find somebody that consistently has the products that we need. So they've managed to work through that. Organic certification by itself is also a challenge because it's not just the product that needs to be certified organic. The wholesalers also need to be certified, and this created some challenges early on, and they've managed to work through these. And again, the highlights that we're really fortunate that Baxter Story organization or corporate encourages local units to bring on their own suppliers, and this is very helpful and apparently rare. So in terms of lessons learned, fundamentally it's know what you want to be. So we're in the city center location. But across the road from us, we have Greggs, Costas, Subways. A little bit further, we have every imaginable chain and independent in the city centre. So our USP is that we provide freshly cooked meals made using sustainable local ingredients. And we wouldn't be able to do this if we were trying to be a national fast food chain. Alan's a very big advocate of the support available. So if you want to progress through your Food for Life Served Here certification, reach out to the help that the Soil Association provide. They know the process inside out, and they can help you navigate the challenges. So he's a real advocate of working with the Soil Association team. And last but not least, you have to be committed to achieving Food for Life Served Here and working through the requirements. He says you need to live it and breathe it. You need to challenge how you do things and work towards doing differently. Key to this is before Alan arrived, we had, I think, a large handful of contract managers, and we tried to get them to move us with certification and made limited progress. But Alan really embraced this, and he took us from gold into silver very, very quickly. So you really need to want to achieve it. The end result was that we needed 300 points for gold, and we were, I think, 62 short. Very proud to have Food for Life Silver. We're adamant that we will get gold, but it'll take time, and we need to work around a number of supply chain constraints, namely for chicken and pork, which may involve finding new suppliers, but it may also involve redesigning menus. So that's the next ambition, is achieving the 300 points for gold. So that, I think, is that. Over to you, Sue.
Oh, thank you very much, Paolo. That was great, and I'm conscious also that you stepped in for Alan, so that was so very, very well done. I think what we'll do is, if we can have questions in the Q&A section, and then we'll come back to you afterwards as well. But I can vouch certainly for the food at Glasgow Cali, and being in there a few times, that they do a great job, and they concentrate on really simple, focused simple ingredients and simple dishes as well, but they do them incredibly well, and it works really well. And I think even his sales have increased as well, he was telling me, so that's really good as well. So yeah, so that's great. Well, thank you very much, Paolo. Really appreciate that. Next, we're going to be joined by Keith Morrison, and then followed by Jodie Young from City of Glasgow College. Keith and Jodie are going to be talking about educating future chefs and caterers about sustainability. So I'll just give you a quick bio on Keith. So Keith Morrison is the Operations Support Manager within the Faculty of Hospitality and Leisure at City of Glasgow College. He leads the operational management of the faculty's commercial outlets, ensuring effective delivery of high-quality hospitality and catering services aligned with institutional objectives. Keith is responsible for compliance, performance analysis, and strategic planning across areas such as the Scholars Training Restaurant, City Bistro, and City Market, supporting the college's commitment to excellence in both education and commercial enterprise. So Keith, I'll pass over to you, and then we can follow with Jodie's presentation. Thank you.
Right. Good morning, and thank you for attending, and also thank you for inviting us, the City of Glasgow College, and just to talk about with you what we consider now as daily practice. And it's not a project or a slogan, it's daily practice that we like to practice with the staff and the students and anyone coming into the college, because obviously we have a lot of guests that come into our commercial areas to help the students learn in the areas that allow this. So I'm just going to... What we do here in the college, we have the opportunity to focus on practical, achievable examples rather than just in theory, where obviously we'll talk about stuff in theory in the classroom, but we then take that on to practical examples and take the students through the journey, as well as let our guests understand what our aims are. We're looking at cost control, efficient procurement, reduce food waste, help manage budgets, student engagement, embedding sustainability gives students the real experience and responsibility, reputation, that we want our college to be known as a sustainable college, and that's what we do, and it's not just a theory. And then it's from that, what we're, within our commercial areas, is that is seen as a business strength and not considered as an optional extra, because with what we're able to deliver, we've felt has added to the quality of what we're delivering. Within our outlets, we have training outlets it's real commercial outlets. So we've got the Scholars Restaurant, the City Bistro and City Market Bakery. Very much more so is the City Bistro and City Market Bakery allow more flexibility for us to look at our whole sustainable plans. And within those environments, the students are getting the real hospitality experience, and they can understand the journey, that what we're trying to achieve. Procurement focuses on our local suppliers and seasonal produce, and then our surplus food is also redistributed either within the college, in our outlets within the college, as well as with our student union. So these all joined up together have helped our sustainability. Within our procurement, we utilise our kitman ordering system that enables the recipes to be ordered by the lecturers planning the classes. That's ordered per students attending and the recipes that they're using, and it is we have seen that reduce overbuying, it reduces waste, it cuts down on deliveries, and it cuts down on emergency deliveries. So it's tightened up the whole system, so it's precise to what we require. The only we can't anticipate sometimes is last minute changes to our curriculum. Say, for example, if a class is cancelled at the last minute, or one or two students are maybe not in attendance, but we then still obviously deal with the produce. We're looking at our local suppliers through our sourcing, as well as through the TUCO pricing system, that we're trying to encourage more local suppliers. Then our closed loop kitchen system is that from what we use, we have 8 kitchens where classes will be running, and then from those kitchens, they will have been learning, say, for example, cuts of veg. The cuts of veg are then utilised in the bistro for soup, or in the scholars, or it could be through a sauces class. So it's from the actual class, it's then got another further outlet to go to, and then that is sold on to the customer. Through this control, then it also helps keep down the overall costs, and then for the customer attending, that then loops into the pricing system is kept down, because some of the costs that, say, for example, Baxter Story would have to deal with, as in the labour costs, our labour are the students learning in that environment. The data tracking has also helped us monitor how much the kitman has tightened up control and the costs, and that we've not over-ordering, we're not overestimating, and the classes are getting the exact sizes of ingredients that they require, and the technology has helped. Again, within the outlets, say for our bistro, for example, we have discounts for the customers to reuse containers. Over the years, that's been established gradually with coffee, but now what we're doing within the bistro is also encouraging people to bring their own soup container, their own plate, and use that container, take it away, but then they also get a reduction in price. So if in the bistro, for example, if they're eating at the bistro, then they'll use a plate that's there. The price is as advertised. If they're taking the container away, they get 50p reduction. And then if they're asking for a takeaway cutlery, then the takeaway container, they will pay for a small 50p for using the takeaway container. So the advantage is there that, you know, we have reduced the amount of containers that we're using, and we're rewarding our customers for value. If they're actually bringing their soup container, they're now used to the habit of bringing their coffee containers in. It's just getting them into the habit of also bringing in further containers, and they are rewarded for this. In the bistro, we've removed our canned drinks from being available on sale, and all we've got there now is water urns. So we've got fresh water there. The customer has the choice to have that water there. If they really do want a can, there is vending machines within the college that they can get their can from the vending machine, but we are encouraging free use of our quality Scottish water, and it's there, and there's also tea and coffee. Menus are planned by the chef lecturers within the bistro, but also we've got a fair variance of menus coming in based on the classes that have been working in the kitchens, which then also give the bistro a great flexibility for seasonal stock, for, you know, basically whatever's coming in through the class. For example, the other week, the classes were learning dressing a crab, and so then that crab was then on sale in the bistro. Not a regular item, but it was just down to that specific class. What we also have is what we want to do with our surplus food, because sometimes the bistro is planned to sort of sell out each day. There could be excess produced from the classes, so we have improved on the storage of this food within our freezer system, so then it is utilised. We've produced our own specific allergen labels, which is the standard allergen label, but we also added another section where it's highlighted the purpose of that item made. So if an item's made in class, it needs to be frozen. All the allergens filled out as per normal, but we also put the reason, the purpose of that for that item. We have the Student Association, which we've teamed up with. So if we've got excess foods that we still have, that the food pantry that the Student Association runs, they can use this food. So quite often that could be baked items from our bakery classes that we've got excess that they can give away. And then on occasion as well, we've done free dinners, free pop-ups, again, aimed at our students that would most benefit from this. Then our future roadmap is, as AI improves, we will embrace any technology that can help on our ordering system and give us the data that we want to come back with. Within kitchens, we're looking at equipment all the time. We've just recently installed a new dishwasher, which again is more energy efficient, recycles the water, reheats the water. So it has a system within it that helps heat the water quicker, so it's less electricity. We'd like to take away fryers, for example, and introduce an air fryer to take away from that element. But again, it's like with everything, it's small steps as we progress. So the main thing is seasonal menus, which we like to utilize as much as we can. We like to have incentives so the students can see, or any staff can see, that the reason why we're doing different things. And then if we keep collecting data, it gives us the information to see how we are. So it's been small steps is our main focus throughout our plans, with either the teaching in class or throughout, and this is what we like to continue with. And I shall pass maybe now on to Jodie.
Yeah, thank you very much, Keith. So now we're going to hear from Jodie Young, and Jodie has been a lecturer at the college for 5 years, and she works within the hospitality and leisure department. specifically the culinary department. She's been a chef for over 10 years and uses her industry and teaching experience to help guide students to achieve their qualifications at City of Glasgow College. She's the head of quite a few units at the college and also the college lead for waste and sustainability, and she uses both her own and the teaching team's experience so they can pass on their wealth of culinary knowledge to help students manage food waste and its impact on the industry. So Jodie, I'm going to pass over to you.
Hi, Keith has gave a brilliant overview of, I guess the operations side of things of what the college does here and how they manage that on a really large scale. I'm now coming in from, I guess, a teaching perspective, a lecturer's perspective, and a chefing kind of industry background. So the first slide here, so I'll just mute this down, is what do we currently teach here at the college? So we teach a range of levels, all the way from SEQF level 3 at our supported learning bakery, all the way up to SEQF level 8, which would be equivalent to our HND professional cookery. But currently we teach our food waste and sustainability class to our level 5 students, which is our entry level for professional cookery here at the college. This year, so I've taken over it the past 2 years, and we ran it as an individual unit last year, so it meant that it had its own time on the timetable. But this year we've integrated it with kitchen operations, which is another unit that looks at teaching students the theory and management and kitchen hierarchy and kind of operational side of the kitchen. Whereas the food waste and sustainability brings in more of the kind of day-to-day cooking and preservation practices that hopefully, with uniting these two units together, we can now give students a more well-rounded view. And teaching these units together, it just kind of fit in much better with our time management here also at the college, with our timetable, our teaching practices. So it was great to be able to integrate both of those things. And so far, they seem to have worked very well in teaching students kind of both sides of not just management practices of the kitchen at a very entry level, but then teaching them how to manage and handle food safely and preserve waste where possible. Within our practical lessons, so for food waste and sustainability this year, we have got 4 practical lessons which have ran already. Within these lessons, we were teaching students all basic preservation techniques, fermentation processes, which of course can help a lot of our food last much longer. So some of those basic practices that we teach are things like pickling, could be making jams and chutneys. And as Keith has already touched on, is that all these kind of surplus products we used for later lessons, or we've also used for the bistro. Again, the jams and chutneys that we've made, we're going to use actually probably downstairs in Scholars, possibly at Christmas time, which does save us cost and also actually allows us to have probably better products because one, they're made by our students. So we've overseen all of the processes concerning allergens, hygiene, which helps us meet our hazard analysis critical control point. So that also makes sure that we're kind of maintaining those processes on an allergenic scale and also with hygiene. We've taught students also things like portioning practices. So this year we had them have a full side of fish, which we give students to remove things like scales, skin, bones, and we use those things for fish stock, for example, and then the actual fish itself was then given to the bistro. And I think now they were managed to freeze some of the fish if it was surplus, which they can use for later weeks down the line, where they want to maybe create a custom menu for that day in the canteen. And it also gives students a range of different products to work with. They also portioned meat for things like meatball dishes, burgers, which the students then made for their final lesson. Using some of those pickles they made in the previous lesson, they then used in their burgers and salads. So they got to see a complete finished dish at the end of the day. They also are taught how to utilise ingredients which might typically be wasted. So I just mentioned their fish or animal bones to make things like stocks and sauces and soups. Then we also use things like bread crusts. So this year we managed to devise a recipe using the bread crusts and use that in pasta, fresh made pasta. And the students made that in lessons. So instead of us using complete pasta flour or bought in breadcrumbs, which are typically much more expensive, we saved all of our bread crusts from the bistro and from our Scholars restaurant. We dried them out and then processed them to make them fresh there on site. And that did save us quite a large sum in cost. So that's great as well. So it shows students how to preserve and use typically wasted ingredients. Even at home, they can do this practice as well. And then it also does save us on an operational side with our ordering and our budget management as well for lessons. With that is teaching students also the finished dishes that may be suitable for industry standards, that does incorporate kind of all of the things mentioned above. So using also practices such as, and although we have kind of had this debate of using plastics and single-use plastics, teaching students how to vacuum pack food so that if we do have to save surplus ferment products for a few weeks in advance, or we do have to pickle or preserve things, freezing them, for example, that means that when we vacuum pack it, we can save space and storage. We can also clearly allergen label all of our products to make sure that we're keeping in line with our allergen process and policies. And then we can also space save in our freezers, because we do have limited space here on site in the college, which are used for both our commercial outlets and all of our classes. So we do currently have, I think, more than 10 bakeries and kitchens altogether. So you can imagine the scale which we do work on when you can potentially have students, 20 students in each of those lessons. So we do try to save space and cost, and also work within line of food waste and sustainable practices where absolutely possible. I'll look at our kind of theoretical approach now. So given that we do teach students about the practical elements of food waste and sustainability, where we think is appropriate for that kind of entry level, we also teach students, I guess, current Scottish industry policies and practices. So giving the knowledge from myself with my 10 years in industry, and again, all of the other lecturers have a wealth of knowledge and experience in all different backgrounds from industry as well. We try to incorporate all of those teaching practices within our lessons on a theoretical basis as well. And the past 2 years, we've been incredibly lucky because we've worked with Zero Waste Scotland. Jerry Boyle there is a fantastic collaborator, and he delivered seminars to students past years, both bakery and professional cookery students last year, and this year to our professional cookery students. And he also has a great wealth of front of house and back of house knowledge from the industry as well. So it was great to hear a lot of the statistical side of what the kind of government is working on and helping deliver that information to students to give them more of a, not just what we do here in college, but how it matters to get the circular economy kind of and wider out in industry. But we do have some constraints that we do have to work within, that particularly being with the Scottish Qualifications Authority, which you may have heard from before, which is SQA. They are the kind of governing body, if you want to, so to speak, with what we can teach students within our criteria. So the Food Waste and Sustainability Unit was actually written by one of our lecturers and approved by the SQA, but there is certain criteria and guidance that we do have to work to. So as Keith said, on an operational level, there is certain lessons which we do have to teach students, and portioning practices, preservation, techniques such as freezing, vacuum packing are things that we do have to teach students, just given that we have to adhere to that SQA criteria. So there is some constraints of what we can and can't teach within reason. So we do always have to adhere to that as well. I guess that's from my perspective, and I guess it's good to pass on to everyone else that that's what we're working with at the moment. Whilst teaching kind of basic waste management, we also give students skills to work on with their presenting. So as we know, when you kind of maybe come into industry, or even like I'm doing at the moment, when you're becoming part of companies, particularly in industry, waste management, ecological practices and sustainability is kind of becoming more at the forefront of not only just a kind of SQA side of things from teaching, but also, I guess, Scottish government policy. So we're trying to teach students that with using things like building and presenting their skills, you know, we may also have them mention their skills that they've learned in practical lessons and bring that into the classroom where they can present their different ideas and also gain feedback from students, which is really, really important. And to hear what also they're currently doing in some of their own jobs out in industry. It just gives us a well-rounded view of how we bring in current practices with also some of our, I guess, with the lecturer's perspective as well, and SQA's criteria that we adhere to. We're hoping that all of these skills, given both our practical and our theory, we can help students prepare for industry at all levels, whether that be working in a kitchen as a chef, or whether that working at a management level, running their own business, and again, having to potentially present information, ideas to investors or other people in industry. It's just hopefully a well-rounded view for the students. Okay, I guess food waste and beyond, where do we look from here? we are looking, obviously, of course, to keep teaching students at the current industry standards and practices. That also aligns with our allergens. Of course, we have to teach students how to handle, manage and store food correctly, also in a hygienic manner as well, whilst trying to incorporate all of our teaching outcomes with SQA and also our operational standards that we have here at the college. We're hoping that all of these things, as I said, give students a well-rounded view of what they can bring into the economy as the kind of next generation of those hopefully leading industry and contributing to the circular economy. It's just kind of what we push for here at the college. And I guess as a roundup from that as well, with Scottish curriculum changing all the time, we hopefully can then keep aligning Scottish curriculum and policy with also government and industry standards. Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and thank you so much for your time. And I'll take questions at the end with the Q&A. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jodie. That was great, and Keith as well. And again, I can vouch for City of Glasgow College. They do a great job, and it's really great to see such engaged students, and they've got great facilities and have lots of great speakers in. So yeah, they do a super job. So next, we are joined by Pam Watson from the University of Glasgow. Pam has stepped in as it was going to be Christy from Glasgow, Uni of Glasgow, but unfortunately she can't make it. So Pam is going to be talking about driving food sustainability at the University of Glasgow. Pam is the chef manager for the University of Glasgow Commercial Services team, and she oversees all catering and kitchen teams across the university. And it's a really big campus, and there's just such a wide range of things that they do. She leads on menu development for the University of Glasgow's catering services, and that includes hospitalities, functions and retail. And Pam brings expert knowledge in healthy and sustainable food, helping to shape the university's sustainable catering goals. So Pam, I think you are here, and I will hand over to you.
That's a big, tough act to follow for me. Thank you very much to Keith, Jodie, and I think it's Paolo for what you have brought in your presentations. So in our presentation, really what I'm going to be doing is sharing an overview of the key development areas across catering. Our focus area included updating our marketing approach, enhancing our menus, improving access to sustainability information, as that was one of the things that we were lacking, and strengthening our collaboration with procurement to support more sustainable supply chains. You'll see that our sustainable suppliers were trying our best to make sure that we use what we have in the Glasgow area and also in Scotland. So we've been working more closely than ever with our procurement team, which is one of the key successes that we've had, to break down barriers and make it easier to collaborate with smaller and local suppliers, because those of you who know, especially in the education, higher education, we have to use APUC, and some of the universities use the to-go procurement. And it makes it sometimes difficult for us to use suppliers that we want to use and the great suppliers that we have on our doorstep. But this has also involved developing our tender weightings to place greater emphasis on the kind of community-driven and sustainable initiatives. We're also improving transparency by sharing supplier maps across our outlets and on our websites as well, so that students know, so that the staff and students and customers can actually see where their food's coming from. And what we're looking at doing in the future with our hospitality, wedding menus, we're actually going to be putting on the actual menus where kind of a little story of where all our food is coming from as well as working with all our new menus in the GMS, which is our those who haven't been in the GMS, is our main hub kitchen, is actually going to be in more detail of where the food's coming from, so also our students will know as well. So obviously the major focus for us has been communication. We've developed our marketing strategies to celebrate sustainability more consistently, making sure we promote healthier and more ethical choices. An example of that would be that instead of having, we may want to promote a free drink or a meal deal, we're actually using it with, and we're trying to highlight the more sustainable and better quality drinks like Flossom, for example, which is wonky fruit. A lot of our suppliers that we have are now B Corp, and we choose our B Corp suppliers over regular suppliers to help promote sustainability and more ethical ways. So our website, as I say, is regularly updated to make sustainable information more accessible. We're continuing to expand our dedicated sustainable catering page. We've also created, and it's almost ready in print, our first sustainable catering review, which will be published across all University of Glasgow channels, and I'm sure Sue, you'll be getting your copy as soon as it's made available. This will showcase the amazing work that the university's done while highlighting areas where we can improve. It's actually quite exciting because Christy did actually show it to me last week, and it is pretty cool. It's pretty impressive. Right, so in addition, we'll be supporting the wider community, the university, in its work towards the Sustainable Development Goals, and that's helping to achieve 12th in the world in the Times Higher Education Impact Ratings, which was a huge achievement for the university. I think we were 150th last year, and we're ranked 12th in the world now. Keeping up with a constantly evolving industry is a big part of what we do. So our menus are designed to be inclusive of, we've got over 104, 105 different nationalities in the university. So it's, as you know, it's quite difficult to cater for everybody. So catering to all diets and cultures, while also offering healthy and sustainable options across campus every day. So we offer quite a wide range of vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, plant-based and beanie dishes. You can probably see that I've actually got beans all down my jacket when I was trying it. We do have the beans every single day in the GMS. It's a big part of our menus, and we try and make as much as we can of our menus to actually be vegan. So across all our kitchens, we absolutely make full use of surplus and seasonal ingredients to reduce waste and our local produce. And we change our menus usually about 3 times a year. So we'll have a menu that's on just now until the end of the semester, and then we'll tailor the menu that we're going to do in January to March based on what's available in that time of the year. And then again over the summer months there will be more kind of salads and other bits and pieces. No, what was I going to say? I've lost the plot. Right, and we've also got a new CPU, for those of you who don't know, which is a central production unit, which has just opened in June, and it's allowed us to produce all of our kind of pre-packed rolls and salads and sandwiches in the house. So we actually we've got the Soil Association Award and Bronze Award, so we actually make sure that all of our products in there are Red Tractor. We use organic cheese from Moscow, and everything, so we can actually then pivot and change to the seasons, and we can change if something doesn't sell. Obviously we don't put that on either. We take that off, but it's made a massive difference to be able to change and be able to put on seasonal sandwiches and salads. But it also improves the freshness and the quality, but also helps us to track our carbon emissions and food waste. So food waste we've managed to get right down. Obviously your fruit is and your pineapples and your melons and your skins are quite a lot of food waste, and coffee as well. And what we've actually done with coffee is we've actually teamed up with Moscow. So Farmer Bryce is actually going to start taking all of our coffee grains, and he's going to clean them somehow, I don't know how, and he's going to then obviously redistribute them in the farms and the farmers that they work with, which is great. Now, so that's a nice picture of the team when they got I think Sue, I think you're in it, yes she is, that they got when they got the Soil Association Award. So training, staff training is a huge part of the journey, and thanks to Sue, we've had some really great sessions with the team. You know what chefs are like. Chefs don't like doing training at all, but actually the chefs absolutely loved it, and actually were the ones who got the most out of it. So we're building training programs that embed sustainability in everything we do, and ensuring every team member is now informed and engaged. And I say that the training that we did was really interactive. It was really insightful. There was really valuable knowledge and practical ideas to bring back into the kitchens. And this is something we'd probably like to do maybe annually if Sue wants to come back. And it really does engage the staff and lets them kind of reset of what we're actually doing. We're making information, again, more available to our staff and customers, and encouraging the staff to have conversations about our locality and freshness. And I always go out and chat to the students as often as I can, and kind of explain to them that the food that they're eating is not just, it's not just any old food. It's that there's thought being put into it, there's thought being put behind the supplier. We know who the farmers are, and it's definitely a lot more positive, and we're getting a lot more positive reactions from the students, because people before didn't realise that we'd actually been doing this since we opened the GMS. So what have I got here? So obviously we've got the crockery, so I can talk about that. We're doing what's very similar to what the City of Glasgow is doing as well, is that we actually encourage people to keep cups and bring in their own cups. We've actually got, in hospitality, we actually have got small cups that we actually put out and then bring back in, and we can reuse them, like a recycling of cups. As I say, we use organic Moscow. We use, I think quite a few colleges might have this, Noble Water, very sustainable. We're Red Tractor. We do try and do a lot more vegan and vegetarian food. We have our halal options, our fair trade, organic, as I say, and most of our fish, obviously salmon is probably the one fish that we can't get that's MSC, but everything else is MSC. And as far as we can, we support our local business. And a redistributing food surplus is a plan that we're just about to launch this month. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that will go well. So that is really me. If you go to the last slide, that is just us, short and sweet, from Glasgow. But thank you very much for letting me have this opportunity.
Oh, no, Pam, that's really great. Thank you very much.
I'm the worst speaker ever, sorry, so I apologise to everybody.
No, actually, Pam, you are not. You did a great job. Thank you very much. And what I would say actually about the Uni of Glasgow is I've been working with the Uni of Glasgow probably for about sort of 4 or 5, well, yeah, maybe, yeah, 4-ish years. And I've seen sort of their journey where they created, they had this big idea and they've created their sustainability policy and really put it into action and grown sort of what they're doing. And when you had the plans for the CPU unit right at the beginning, and now that's in practice, and you've just got full control over everything you're doing, which is enabling you to really sort of, demonstrate, your great commitment to sustainability. So it's hugely impressive, and it's a massive site as well. You're the biggest university in Scotland, and you're doing a super job there. You really are. And the other thing as well is the comms with the sustainability sort of eco group there, and the sustainability team and the students as well. There's just so much that's going on to really help you on your journey as well. So I've been like hugely impressed. So with yourself and all the speakers today as well.
Say is GCU watch out. Oh, we want a silver as well.
I'll help you. Don't worry.
The race to gold.
Okay, that's fine. Right. Well, thank you, everybody. Yeah, as I say, it's been really good to hear sort of great work happening on health and sustainability in universities in Glasgow. And the one thing to say as well is that there's been a real range of approaches from all of our speakers. So you've got sort of, Glasgow Cali have spoken about Back to the Story coming in. So as a contract caterer, Uni of Glasgow have their sort of own commercial outlet as well, which is their own team as well, which is a sort of a central team. And then City of Glasgow talking about their sort of student-facing operation as well. So I think it's really important to hear that you've got a real range of approaches to sustainability that have been demonstrated here in this webinar, which is really great. So we've asked really for those that can use, if they can put anything in the Q&A, and I've seen a few things that have come in, which there's one which I can answer on behalf of Back to the Story. So I'm just going to do that straight away and then move on to some of the other ones as well. So one of the ones was about oils that are used to cook with as well. So I think it was an anonymous attendee asked about oils, and just really I'm speaking on Back to the Story's behalf because I work really closely with the guys at Back to the Story. They have a very, very strong sustainable nutrition sort of policy and team as well, and they are super strict. They don't allow any GM ingredients on site or in Back to the Story menus at all. They work with rapeseed oil and olive oil. As far as I'm aware, they don't work with any canola and sunflower oil, soy oil, which is where some of the sort of health associations came from as well. But if anyone wants to ask any more questions about sea doors and things, then you can, by all means, get in touch with us at Soil Association. Our standards as well, the Food for Life standards, are vigorously checked by our policy and standards team as well. So if there's any health issues for anything, we will be all over that. And I know that everybody else on the call from the central teams at all the other unis and colleges will be as well. So hopefully that's answered that. There was another question which I think has now gone from about replacing cutlery and I think Pam, you touched on that, but Paolo, you had maybe some things to maybe add to that. If you wanted to pop your mic off.
Hi. So we at the university, we give people the option not to use single use. So, and that option usually involves either sitting in or bringing your own. For takeaway, we replaced plastic because people at the time were saying they didn't like plastic. We replaced plastic with wooden. And the reason we did that was wood doesn't look like plastic, and some of the plastic alternatives still look like plastic, so it confuses people. But we have no ambition that people will recycle the wood items with the food waste. Where we were seeing is takeaway containers discarded with their plastic cutlery that would end up being shattered into lots of little pieces of plastics. And we thought, well, if people are going to put this stuff, dispose of it incorrectly, they might as well dispose of something that's biodegradable, and it goes back to nature. One challenge we have with compostable containers and cutlery and collecting them for being composting, or not one, several. One is our waste contractor takes our food waste to an anaerobic digestion facility, and they say that the compostable stuff takes a long time to break down. And I've heard compostable suppliers say otherwise, but I need to work with what my waste management contractor says. The other thing is fundamentally, how do you collect this stuff for composting? So we're an open site in the city centre, and the messaging becomes really complicated because you'd have to say, if you bought a coffee or a meal in a container that's this shape and color, then it goes in that bin. Everything else goes in the other one. It's not going to happen. So we end up paying a little bit more for the compostable stuff, and it ends up going into our energy from waste, mixed waste bins, and it kind of defeats the purpose, I think. There may be some merit around, well, a compostable is probably plant-based, so you're moving away from fossil fuels and synthetics, so maybe there's an argument. I don't know if this is helpful, but that was our thinking.
No, that's great, Paolo. Hopefully that's answered that question. There's another question from Eleanor from the Highland Good Food Policy or Highland Good Food Partnership, which is, as a third sector organisation, how would you recommend supporting connecting with a university to encourage this kind of process? So I don't know whether Pam or Paolo or Keith or Jodie have anything to answer. Yeah, Paolo, I think you're as a sustainability coordinator. You're the guy.
Well, so there's first and foremost, there's a conversation about doing the right thing, serving healthy food, what's better for people to eat. There's that conversation. If that doesn't cut it, there's maybe a conversation about the contribution being signed up to these initiatives has on league tables. So whether we like it or not, all universities in the UK are assessed by People and Planet, and they recognize a number of sustainable food programs, including Food for Life, served here, I think, sustainable restaurants, not sure if that's the right name. And depending how well you do, they give you points, and in the aggregate of the points you get, you go up or down. And it's the sort of league table where all points count. So there could be that. The trouble is some universities say, well, we're not interested in those. Here at GCU, I think we started with, it's the right thing to do. We're the university for the common good. That's our our mission statement or our vision, and we say, well, healthy food is aligned with our vision to be the university for the common good. So, you know, those might be hooks into a wider conversation.
Yeah, I very much agree with you. It's the universities sometimes they very much want to be the best in the league tables, but sometimes the SMT leadership team in universities don't understand that actually. And I've just put a kind of a wee. I can't get a question onto the questions. They don't understand the costs involved in being sustainable, because being sustainable can increase your costs. And it has increased our costs in the University of Glasgow, of which we have taken the hit and not passed any of the costs on to the students, because we want to make sure that the student has the best possible food and brain food and experience when they come to the universities. And it's also a lot of students choose universities because of the fact they have the Soil Association Bronze, Silver or Gold Award, and the Restaurant Association Awards, and the Full of Beans, obviously. So that's the reason why we are doing it. We're not just doing it because we're trying to tick a box. We're doing it actually because we care in Glasgow about the food that we give our students, and we want to make sure that we also give the best food. And we don't always pass that on. And being a commercial business, that's really difficult. And I know that all my colleagues at all the colleges and universities at the moment, that's the biggest thing that we're struggling is costs, because the price of food is just going one way, and that's north. But it just means that we're just having to. And the good thing about that is that you can actually then bulk up your food and your protein with vegetables. And this is the perfect time of the year to do that, with all the lovely root veg that's available this time of the year. So hopefully that does answer some of the questions.
I was going to say what I've seen as well.
Budgets are difficult.
Definitely. What I've seen with a lot of universities, obviously we work with caterers across the whole of the UK at Soil Association, but what we're finding a lot of them doing is they're looking at alternative cuts of meat that lend themselves more to composite dishes, so like thighs and legs for sort of for different sort of, when using poultry as well, which is key, but also if they're using organic flour, then they're using 50% organic flour, 50% normal flour or standard flour. So just trying to incorporate a little bit of organic into things if they want to go down the organic route. It's not compulsory with a Soil Association Bronze Award. But also just one of our standards as well is to prioritise using veg and pulses, and that lends itself really nicely to reducing meat content as well in dishes as well, and adding more veggies and pulses as well. So there's lots of different initiatives that are happening all across lots of different universities and colleges and other catering establishments in the public sector predominantly, just helping to sort of really look at sensible menu planning as well, and simplifying menu planning as well, and making sure that you haven't got tons of different dishes that are on the menu when you don't actually need them, when you can just have a really solid core menu with some really carefully made dishes as well, can really help with your costs as well, and also you get economies of scale on ingredients as well. There is another question about water that I saw, and it was to Keith. I can't see it now in the questions, but it was about water, and it was just saying about, Keith, how did you find the change to tap water?
Yeah, I think I did answer in the chat, but however, yes, it's taken a little while for staff that do go to that outlet to accept that their cans were not available. However, as I put down that, say for our students, a lot of our students are new, so they're accepting what is available in that outlet. So, the choice is still there. They can go to a vending machine to purchase the can, but for the students coming in, they can see, we explain why there's no cans available, and they accept that that's the norm of that outlet. But yeah, it's definitely maybe taking some of the staff a little bit longer to accept it.
No, that's great. Okay. And I think Catherine has asked, did you do much in the way of comms to stakeholders when you took away the soft drinks?
I didn't quite.
That's okay.
Hear that.
Did you do much in the way of comms to stakeholders about why you took away soft drinks?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, we discussed with, we've let people know, because initially, even before, we were on a pilot scheme for the bistro for the Eating Out, Eating Well program. So it was lots of things that we were doing with the bistro and trying to improve what was getting delivered and the reasons why we were doing that. So, people were made aware, and it was, it's been, I think, like everything that we try to do, it's small steps, and it's the more you let people know, then the reasons why, then there is an acceptance, and they can see the benefits gradually of the changes. But like with everything, the choice, we've still left a choice and options there, because some of the students, etc., they'll still need, there could be a reason why they need to buy a sugary drink, so it is still available in the vending machine. You're still giving that choice there. You can't eliminate everything, but you're trying to, it's if you're taking away the salt, or you're trying to reduce the salt, it's those sort of things. It's just small steps, and yeah, we try and get as much communication to everyone visually. Is the best thing we've found.
Okay, that's great. I've got one question that I'm going to
Keith's thought there. I think, sorry, I realised I tried to type.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't see your face. Go ahead.
Sorry, it's just myself here. We're actually in the same office. With the regards to the soft drinks, we found that, as Keith said, there's instances where we couldn't eliminate sugary drinks, where we have a number of students who are maybe diabetic in lessons and require a sugary drink at times and things, or a snack to help them. So we can't eliminate that fully, I believe, from our campus and how we run things. But we did notice that in the vending machines, which we don't stock ourselves, it is like a third-party supplier, but they were stocking them with heavily caffeinated and sugared beverages. And I think the lecturing team as well did notice a change in students' kind of attitudes when they were drinking a lot of these soft drinks very early in the morning. So again, we did fight to have those removed. And again, we've kind of replaced them with more sustainable options, like our canned versions of water, which could be recycled, and also maybe slightly more healthier fruit juices that are, I guess, like limits the caffeine and sugar intake as well. So it took time for the student body to also come around to that, but actually it's been a pretty positive change that we've noticed in the student body as well, especially when they're participating in lessons, and keeping them kind of, I guess, responsive with also the bistro and the service outlets.
Okay, that's really good. Thank you very much, Jodie. Sorry, I couldn't see you there. I'm going to put a question in just for the panelists, and it's just if you had any advice for colleges and universities wishing to embark on a more sustainable catering journey, what would it be? And just while I'm going to let you think about that, I'm just going to read out some of the answered questions in the Q&A at the moment. So as a question for Jodie, which just said, in regard to teaching, do you also teach students about their own health and well-being in kitchens relating to ventilation and air quality in kitchen? And so Jodie's answered that yes, that kitchen environments are challenging. Students are provided with break times, allowed water in lessons, but kitchen safety is at the forefront of each lesson, ensuring students use equipment safely and only when ventilation is in use. And they've got a built-in safety system when ventilation or air quality is insufficient.
Yeah, absolutely. That should be across across industry standards. So anytime you're working in an industrial environment like a kitchen, there should always be suitable ventilation. That always should shut off when the air quality or the ventilation is not suitable, again, because you're working with gas, which is again, with students, we also teach them that, gas does in kitchens, particularly with air quality as well. It should always come with an odour. It should always only be used in the event that you are cooking. It shouldn't be left on the stove with nothing cooking. You should never walk away from the stoves either. But yeah, at the college, we're very lucky that we do have a great system that does shut off and test the gas every single time that we turn it on in a lesson or a commercial outlet. So again, if there isn't sufficient air quality coming from outside the building to ensure that the ventilation is kept up to our standard, then the whole system does automatically shut off. Has that caused sometimes operational issues if we're in the middle of a lunch service? Yes, of course, but the safety of ourselves and our students and the customers that may be sitting in those areas always comes first. So yeah, we do have that policy here, which is great.
Oh no, that's great. Thank you, Jodie. And it was just if any of our panelists wanted to sort of offer any advice on the journeys that you've been through and sort of advice to others on the call. I'll let you speak up if you'd like to say something.
I think what Pam said, brain food, the right food to foster learning. I think Jodie talked about it with the caffeinated drinks as well and taking those away. So I sit in estates at Glasgow Cali, and we have conversations like many other estates about indoor air quality. Are we ventilating rooms often enough so that there's enough oxygen so that people can concentrate? Because above, I think, 1,000 something parts per million CO2, people start nodding off. So, let's give people a chance to concentrate and learn, not only by air quality, but by also giving them the right quality of food so that, they can concentrate. And I think that's a very important selling point is, enable your students to learn.
I think that's really, really important. And I think Paola as well, Alan was telling me at Glasgow Cali, you've now got people coming in from outside of Glasgow Cali in the city centre to come into the restaurant there because the quality of the food is so good, and saying, yeah, maybe that's the brain food effect there. I don't know. So, but yeah, that's great. I don't know, Pam or Keith or Jodie, if you've got anything else to add there.
I think from our side, on the support and operational side, it's just been looking at our efficiency. So it's from what's coming from the classes, the food that's produced, that it's not going to waste, that it has that final, has another source and how we're going to use that up. So it was small things like how we were labeling items, how we were communicating from one class to where that food was to go to. And then if the food, for example, isn't used in one outlet, could it be then even used to another? So even then onto the student pantry. And then all the way through the cycle is then how we've improved on the waste. So as the food waste is collected, then that's then put through the macerator and then onto the our rocket system that's out the back, which can then turn it into compost. So it's just, I think, just looking at efficiencies and then explaining, communicating that to the students that come in each year to why we do things and why, if when they're creating the food waste, they're putting into a bucket, why they then don't put other things into that bucket, which would then spoil the food waste, if they're mixing it with paper towels, so they understand. So it's just getting that message to them. So it's, but definitely we've operationally looked at the efficiency. How we can improve is probably through procurement and how we can engage better with local suppliers. I think there's different hurdles that we need to overcome. Either how contracts are agreed when through the TUCO pricing that but it's easier, and I think our procurement needs to go out to local suppliers and explain to them how they can become our suppliers better. I think that's we rely on the larger suppliers too much. That's I think how a big area that we can improve on the support side, and then let the lecturers then deliver. But yeah, we need that's one area that we'd like to focus on.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks. Pam, I don't know if you've got anything to add.
I think, they're just, what Keith and Pearl have said, it's a combination of everything. It's just making sure that we've Glasgow, our biggest wastage was actually rice, would you believe? And it's just making sure that you just, after coffee, because actually coffee grinds, I don't have the rest of the GCU and the Super College, as I call you guys, find that coffee grinds are one of our biggest wastes as well, because every time someone has a coffee, you've got a waste product. So that's why we've teamed up with Moscow and he takes our coffee grinds and redistributes them. But it's the biggest waste.
Great, yeah, and that's another standard that is on the Food for Life standards as well, is having a food waste policy as well. So we encourage we ask all caterers that have a Food for Life Served Here award to have a food waste policy, and then we check that annually. I've just got one final question for the panelists, and if there's any other questions that anybody has, if you want to pop them in the Q&A, because I think we've answered all of them now. And it's just thinking about sort of stakeholder feedback from sort of college and university stakeholders, and that's that's students and others that work in the university as well. What's the most sort of impactful changes that you've made for the menus, and is there anything that you tried that actually didn't work very well as well? Don't know if anybody wants to add anything.
Unfortunately, that would be an Alan question for us.
Yeah, I think I could say for Alan that he simplified his menu, and that helped him. So I know that's what worked for him, but also worked really closely with his chefs as well, and his chef team as well. And I've seen them go on an incredible journey as a team of chefs within the kitchen as well. You know, they're so engaged, and the communication between all of them, and the desire to create just really great food is really evident as well. And so I think that team working element and communications is really good. That's it. I don't know whether anybody else has anything to add. Oh, that's fine. Okay. I'm going to sort of close now. To say there's a few other organisations in Glasgow who also hold Food for Life awards, and that's all of Glasgow Council's primary schools and nurseries, Scottish Government workplaces, and Scottish courts in Glasgow. And Glasgow as a city also holds the UK-wide Sustainable Food Places Silver Award. So this sort of is recognising the sort of success of taking a very joined up holistic approach to food and achieving, you know, quite massive positive change on a range of key food issues, which is what the Glasgow Food Policy Partnership do. And none of this would be possible without the amazing collaborative work happening by many different sectors, including higher education and also some of the other sort of attendees to this webinar, which is great. This webinar has been recorded and will be made available after the event, along with the presentation slides, and you can find recordings from the Glasgow Food Policy Partnership's previous webinars on their website. If you want to find out more about their work and the work of our partners, you can subscribe to their newsletter. And if you have any other questions to our speakers, then please do get in touch. I want to say a massive thank you to all of our speakers. So Keith, Jodie, Paolo and Pam, thank you very much. And we'd really welcome your feedback and thoughts on this webinar, and we'll send you a follow-up email with an evaluation form. And your comments are going to help us develop any future webinars for the Glasgow Food Policy Partnership. So, and also a special thank you to the Glasgow Centre for Population Health Communications team for helping us put the event together. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.